All right, cool. So, let me start up a note sheet. This is a one-time session, not a training plan, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's one time for now. I wasn't
Cool.
sure
Cool. That's
if I would need
perfect.
multiple or not.
Yeah, no
I am
worries.
interested.
No worries. All right. Post. So, tell me a little bit about yourself, your goals, and all that stuff.
Um, so I'm not trying to go pro or anything, but I do enjoy aim training, and I used to play a lot of Overwatch, but then I moved to Valorant when it came out, and I've been playing it quite a bit. Um, I do play in a not I wouldn't even say it's like tier two. It's like a Discord community of people over the age of 18. We make
Mm-hmm.
teams and have like annual or quarterly tournaments or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
It's like a league. Um, so I've been trying to do tasks that I think could help improve in Valorant specifically.
Okay.
Um, I've been using mainly aim labs up until the last
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing Kovacs task. It just took
Mm-hmm.
me a while to figure out how exactly to find a playlist and certain tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but since that, I've been doing both, going back and forth.
Nice, nice. All right, cool. So, do you have anything recorded, like any deathmatch VODs of Valorant or whatever?
Yeah, I've got.
All right, let's see.
Let me shoot you over a playlist. I need the whole link. There we go. It's a link
Nice,
to a
nice,
playlist. I've got actual
nice,
games, a couple death matches, and also
nice.
some Kovacs and Aim Labs runs.
All right, let me try and find this deathmatch. Deathmatch Haven, perfect. One,
Deathmatch.
2,
Warm
23.
up.
Yeah, that's recent.
And then there's some more. I put some on there from today as well. Or, yeah, there's.
Yeah, yeah, this deathmatch is from today.
Gotcha.
Perfect. So, how long have you been playing like FPS games and stuff for?
Really? Not that long. I mean, I didn't grow up playing PC games or anything. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
get a PC till I was like a sophomore in high school. I'm
Mm-hmm.
24 now, but I started playing. My first real shooter was PUBG. I
Mm-hmm.
played that for quite a bit while it was popular. Then switched to Overwatch for a while, and then switch when Valorant came out. I started playing it, and also got into CS for a little bit when Valorant came out as
All
well.
right.
Um, but I wouldn't say I'm very competent at CS.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been playing Valorant since the beta.
And what rank are you in Valorant right now?
Currently Diamond One,
Okay.
but I'd also, since we have that league, I play much more in custom matches than I do in
Rank.
competitive.
Yeah.
So I don't know what my rank would be if I just committed to grinding competitive, but
Yeah, it's fine. Share my screen for you right now. I'm just watching through one of your death matches.
gotcha.
Is that an iron charm?
It's a silver one.
Ah.
I was iron when I first started, but they didn't give me the buddy for it.
Didn't finish the act iron
I
or the
think I did
episode.
finish like the very first act. I think I was iron.
Is is it like act episode act like you know how
Yeah,
so the
yeah. There's
acts are
multiple episodes in an act. Yeah.
okay, yeah, I think you got to be like okay, yeah, that always confuses me.
So yeah, in these death matches, you'll see that I'm using a guardian, and there may be one with a sheriff, but
Okay.
that's typically what I do. Um, that way, me getting the kill isn't reliant on having a random spray.
Okay. Let's launch up Kovacs and let's look at that real quick.
Okay.
Actually, launch up first. I just want to see one specific aim lab scenario, so let's just launch up that for like 2 minutes and then go to Kovacs.
Gotcha.
Just
And another thing that I'd
hmm
like to talk about, I think I put it in my notes, but I
hmm
recently switched to a higher sensitivity.
Okay.
Um, and I think it may be, I think it's overall beneficial, but I just have a harder time making the really small micro adjustments
Okay.
with it. And I've tried incorporating more fingertip aiming
hmm
into it. Just maybe it just takes more time than I've put into it so far.
Okay. And let me just think for a minute. Commands. Just share your screen when that's up. All right, nice, nice. I'm just thinking through different things. What's the new sense?
The new sins, it's point 0.2 in Valorant in, I have it in centimeters per 360 written down, I think in the YouTube titles. Yeah, so it's 41 centimeters
Okay.
for 360 is what it currently is.
What was the old one?
The old one was, I think, 61.
Okay.
63 was the old one.
Okay, cool, cool. And just while I'm thinking of it, how long do you aim train in a day?
It really varies. I do genuinely enjoy aim trainers more than I do playing
Nice.
like actual shooter games.
Nice.
So, I mean, there's some days where I'll do it for maybe 30 minutes or an hour, but I've done it for like 3 to 4 hours at a time before.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say on average, probably 1 to 2.
Okay, nice. Nice. I'll make you an hour long like routine and then if you want to extend it you can or you can do your own stuff after that. Does that
Gotcha.
make sense?
Yeah.
Hour per day. All right, so let's first look at oh yeah, go to training. Go to see where it says RA medium benchmarks, the playlist.
Yep.
6 down, 5 down. And then you can just play the fourth scenario in that. So you can just hit play and then go to the hit play and then skip to the fourth one. Top right. Wait, no, sorry, fifth. Or no, fourth, yeah, fourth scenario, head click. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
And just play this for me. Just want to see what it looks like. You ever played the RA benchmarks before?
I don't think I've played RA. I've done Voltaic
Okay.
a couple times.
What do you normally do when you play aim trainers?
I found I've used your like Ultimate Valorant one.
Okay, cool.
I started using that one, and then I've got another one that was another playlist that I got. from one of my buddies that I can't remember. It was he said he got it from like some pros Valorant playlist or something, but
Can you? Is it in Kovacs?
it's in Kovacs, yeah.
All right, cool. Now that I've seen that, you can launch up Kovacs. Can exit it. Nice, nice. Kovacs. So show me the playlist you were saying.
So before
Oh,
I
that
started
one.
using
Yeah,
yours, this was the one that I had been
yeah. I've seen
using.
that one a few times. That's
It's got, I think this playlist has more tasks of things that I'm already pretty decent at. I think my strongest tasks are static clicking, but obviously that's not very beneficial for in game.
Oh, that's the Valorant playlist you're using? The just the one that
The
playlist I
the
made? Oh.
the the Pyth Aimer is what I had been using before, and then
Oh, this
I
one was a
started
weird
using
one.
this like a week ago.
Okay, yeah, I made that one a while ago, quickly. Like, it's definitely not my main. Like, if I was gonna recommend someone just an overall Valorant like routine, I'll send you a link to that video right now.
Gotcha.
Let me find it. This is like when people ask for. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. That is what I would consider like the main Valorant playlist I've worked on and made, and it's like a complicated thing. But yeah, that works. So let's
Oh,
see. You don't
so
have to
each
look
of
at that.
these different tasks is a.
You don't have to look at the thing I just sent you right now. It's just like
Oh,
a
okay.
bit more in
Yeah, I gotcha.
depth than
I gotcha.
that's all right. It's not my favorite. Let's see. What did I want to look at first? Go to online scenarios. Search up centering one, and the one is just a capital I. See where it says highest rated, you're dealing with a little glitch, just arrays and stuff. So click on highest rated, go to newest created, then back to highest rated. It just needs to be forced into, yeah, back to highest rated. Just needs to be forced into the zero position so that, all right, now you can click centering one.
Just this one.
Yeah, that was fine.
Okay.
And just play it. Just challenge it. Okay. How how does your arm feel when you play the scenario? Your arm in your hand, like the tension in those.
Um, I mean, it doesn't feel bad. Um, I used to be at an even lower sins, so I'm pretty used to using my arm to aim. That's also why I
Hmm.
use a sky pad. There's like almost no friction on this between
Hmm.
the sleeve and the pad.
And the M1K makes it even easier. Or is that an M2? That's M2K,
This
right?
is it's a Mark III, or
Oh,
yeah, M2K. Yeah, you're right.
yeah. Um, and yeah, that'll make it even easier to aim, I'm guessing. Let me think for a minute. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Um, thinking for a minute, sorry.
No, you're good.
All right, so how do tense do your muscles actually feel? Like, do you feel like you're applying a lot of unnecessary tension and really tight?
So that's one thing. I don't notice it really when I'm in Kovacs or aim labs, but I have noticed that there is more tension when I'm actually in a game.
Okay,
I
okay.
assume that's just a mental thing, but
So it's just something you kind of gotta just stop doing.
yeah.
Like, just try and if you don't notice it in Kovacs and aim labs, then you have an idea of what needs to be done. And you just gotta just relax your hand when you start to feel it happen. So that's definitely true. Let's see. What else do we want to do? Let's look at let's look at some more. You're definitely very shaky with these kinds of scenarios. Like, you're going back and forth between the target, back and forth between like the floating heads target or RA head click target, back and forth between the centering one target. You're very shaky with these things. So let's look at another scenario. Let's go to online scenarios again. Let's search up. So let me think for a second. Um, let's go to Pure G Valorant horizontal. Horizontal.
So this one.
Yeah, top one.
This is the clicking one.
Yeah, clicking. All right, nice, nice. You want to play that one more time for me?
Yep.
Just-
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed too. Since I switched to the higher sims, it's harder to hit counter strafing targets because I overflick a lot.
yeah. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen again. All right. Hold on a second. No worries on that. On this scenario, there's like a bunch of different approaches you can take to it. Your approach is one of the wrong ones. You're basically just going like this is one of your two approaches. You go around the target like this, like basically just never sure where it is, just trying to click it, always overcorrecting, overcompensating, and like you see what I mean by that? Like you've noticed that? Or can you
Yeah.
see my screen?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was looking at my own for some reason.
Oh yeah, no worries. So you see it now?
Yeah.
When you're playing the scenario, your approach tends to be like this. You're just overcompensating, always overcorrecting, like just like going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just
Hmm.
panicky, like never making it. And then you just do this, like just train your crosshair placement, like
Yeah.
which is like you're just what's the point of that at that point? So the proper approach is more to just like do what just take a chill pill with this and just do one of these and just get on to it. Like go where it's going on. You know what I mean by that? Like
Gotcha.
instead of going like
Yeah.
this, just go like this and just get it. I'm doing it bad
Yeah.
right now, but like
Get closer to it and then just train the micro flick.
yeah, like get close, flick to it, and then just micro onto it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you get the point. So let's see you try to do it again. All right, so you're definitely looking kind of shaky and like you're struggling to be in control with the scenario, right?
Yeah, it's harder to control the higher sins at this on tasks like that.
Here, you want to try showing it to me on your old sense? Let's see how much of a difference that makes. You're still looking pretty shaky. You just look a bit more confident.
Maybe that's what it is.
All right, I think what we're gonna do is I think we're gonna not do something where the target moves back and forth for you, right?
Okay.
Because I feel like that's just making it way too complicated, a bit too difficult. We need to work on a few other things first.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna start outlining your routine right now. Oh, let's see. We started this at 6:30, right? So 1x WPV, one no random dynamic. So let's search up floating heads timing 400%. This will be pretty similar to RA head click. For some reason, I just like RA head click also to try, but this works pretty much the same. Floating heads. Wait, no. Is there the timing of this variant? Not the 400% version. This one's. Let's try it. Actually, it's pretty slow and easy. Treat it like you're scored on accuracy.
Okay.
Do you use the skypad
Y-
in Valorant?
I
Yeah,
do.
go back to your normal sense if you want. You do?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
I've
Ha-
tried a bunch of different things. I've got artisan pads, and my biggest thing is the friction between my arm and the mouse pad rather than the mouse itself, really.
All right. And have you tried the arm sleeve with a non-sky pad and you didn't like it?
Yeah, the it fabric pads are. It depends on which way the weave of the actual pad itself
Yeah, I
is,
know.
because sometimes
Yeah.
they just grab onto it, like the artisan control pad holds onto it like Velcro.
Well, that's just how the arm sleeve is threaded. If you get a whatever, I think the sky pad arm sleeve is vertically threaded. So if you get a horizontally threaded sky pad or arm sleeve, that'll work fine on the artisan pad. It's just about which arm sleeve you have on whether or not it'll work on the cloth pad. If you want to
Gotcha.
experiment with that.
Yeah, if you've got recommendations for different arm sleeves, I tried a bunch of different ones before I found this one.
I've honestly only tried the one I use right now is just one I got in a G Wolves box. As like I just found it at the bottom of a G Wolves box for a HSK Pro Ace.
Try it out.
I don't. It's not even that like fancy of an arm sleeve. I don't know too many, but just I don't know. Just look for a horizontally threaded one. It shouldn't matter too much which one. Let's
Gotcha.
see. No random dynamic. Uh, so let's replay the scenario, and this time I want you to focus on just being less shaky when you get to the target. Try and like be a bit smoother. You know what? Stop the scenario for a minute. I want to work on something different first. You're
Hmm.
just. It's all right. Search up Pokeball wide wall 3 targets. Yep, top one. Challenge it. It's a Pokeball scenario, so obviously hold down, shoot the whole time, and just you don't have to be
Oh, you
accurate.
hold down, shoot.
Yeah, you can just yeah, it's
Yeah, I was
full
trying to
auto.
figure out how to do these things the
No
other
worries, no
day.
worries.
I was
How
getting
long
like
have you been aim
negative
training for?
scores. Um, since probably last year, maybe a
Yeah.
year.
All right. Nice. Um, Here, let me share my screen real quick again for you. So, well, so in this scenario, you're not exactly. So in this scenario, what happens? You go in, you play it, you're flicking fine, you're flicking to the target, flicking to the target, flicking target, flick target, flick target, flick target. Like you're just doing it fine. You might be a bit smooth, like not really flick micro adjust, but more like this. But that's still not what you do in floating heads. In floating heads, you get in there and you go like this. And then this is the target, and then you get to the target and click it. You're like it's like you're trying to follow a snake down your mouse pad or something like loading settings timing 100%. Be not like this. You're like this. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
how your like form looks so awkward instead of going like, and I'm not doing too great too because I was just playing the 2400% version, so I'm used to them going a bit faster, like 6 times faster, so my pacing's all off for this. But the point is like instead of flicking to them or even flicking to them and like kind of tracking them for a minute, like this, and then you're just going like this. S turn like, and then eventually end up on it. Like this is a bit exaggerated, but go back to floating heads and see if you can notice what I'm talking about. Oh, nice. Okay. Now I'm getting it. It's an issue with you over predicting the movement and then also over flicking. Oh, hey, you're one spot behind Konpeki. It's an issue with you like over predicting the movement, then also over flicking, and you just end up shaking around and
Hmm.
messing up a decent bit.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that I've noticed is I overflick a lot more with the higher sins, and I'm trying. It's gotten better since when I first changed it,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been moving. I've been trying to change it incrementally, like it was. I don't know what it is in 360, but I went from basically 0.13 in Valorant to
Mm-hmm.
0.16 to now 2.2,
Uh-huh.
and it
Here.
seems like the my headshot percentage has gotten lower with each of those increases,
Yeah.
but I've also been able to like dodge flashes easier and
Okay, so it's a
like make
movement
larger
sense. That makes
plays.
sense.
Yeah.
Here, can you watch my screen share again?
Yep.
So notice how I flick to it and I'll land like close to where it's going, right?
Yep.
Like, well, you do a lot of time, you'll see a target like this one right here, right? You'll flick
Hmm.
to it, you'll end up way in front of it. And then as you're getting right here, you start to notice you're gonna be way in front of it, and then you curve around. And then you end up over here. So it's like you're this is the target. And then you overflick and then you correct. So instead just try to go like, well, ideally what you'd want to do is just go like this, right? Where you just like flick to where it's going and then stop and wait for it to get there. But with
And that's how I
you,
had done it in the past.
yeah,
Just
that's
try
how
and
you
just
had
land
done
in
it, and
front
now
of
you're
where
just
it is.
over predicting a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So like you can do that method, but what I think you should be doing, I don't want to say instead. Let me just think for a sec. Let me get my words together. what I want you to work on while you're playing the scenario for a bit, just to kind of practice a certain thing, is like flick to either behind the targets or right onto the targets like this, and then like a micro adjust almost like a tracking motion, and then click it and to like get you ready for the pasu that like you just overwhelms, or not the pasu, the pure G horizontal clicking Valorant that's just overwhelming to you. So like
Yeah.
this. On optimal strategy. So an optimal strategy would be more like this, maybe a bit closer to it, where you're getting in targets really quickly.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's just,
that's what I had been doing in the past,
yeah,
was doing larger flicks in front of it and then letting the actual orb itself make its movement onto your crosshair.
yeah, and that'll get you a good score. Like your score is doing pretty good right now in that scenario. Can't say I've played that scenario enough to high score it, but your score is like top 92%. Like,
Yeah, and I think that was from an old Sins too. That's not recent, I don't think.
yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Just keep playing that. Like, it's better than what mine is right now. But I mean, mine, I don't even know when I set that, or like how hard it took me. I think I could probably beat your score without much effort. But the point is, not trying to. I'm just saying, like, the
I
point is,
gotcha. Yeah.
like, I was pretty bad at floating heads until I really started work. The
Yeah, and
point
I
is,
think my biggest issue is that until I started Kovacs,
mhm,
most of the scenarios that I did were static. They were just static in different ways. So just because in aim labs they just spawn in different locations and it changes how they spawn, but they're still not really moving. It's either that or they have tasks that are just purely tracking. There's not really a good combination of both.
yeah, like dynamic clicking where they're
Yeah,
moving and you get a flick to a moving target.
exactly.
These are big for Valorant. So I think what I'm gonna have you do, I'm gonna have you do some scenarios like this where it's just floating heads type dynamic and just work on flicking and like micro adjusting and kind of reading the target, being comfortable getting to it. And I also want you to search up something or just hit the gray X and see where it says one wall five targets pass you. Just play that. Challenge it. Basically, just flick, try and get close to it, and then micro just onto it. Nice. Okay, try and I take that back. Don't like separate your flick and your micro adjustment so much to the point where they're like two different motions. Just like get accelerate, get close to it, decelerate, adjust onto it, get on it. Like here, I'll watch my screen again for a second. I'll show you this. Passive. You like kind of move towards it. You get the point. Like you see how it's like it's not like I'm going like
It's
this
not
is
two
you.
separate motions.
You're like this is the bot we want to go for. We you flick and then you flick and then you flick and then you flick and then you get eventually get so a lot more smooth like flick, accelerate, get on it, flick, accelerate, get on it. Accelerate, decelerate on it. Accelerate,
So
decelerate on
basically, if the first flick doesn't land on it, then track to it rather than flicking again.
it.
Kind of.
Almost like think about it more like the tracking and the first flick are just one thing. Like it's like there's no real distinction. Like you get to it and then you're moving with it, and then you click
Hmm.
it. And there's also the approach, like again, the ideal scoring technique would be to just kind of like flick to slightly in front of it and just like click it, just like floating heads, but it's a bit harder because it's random, so you got to kind of predict it, and like you're never really tracking the bot. Like this is like the overall like if you watch like most world record passive VODs, there'll probably be more like that. But I know people who have like my friend right here has, let's see, where is he? Yeah, 17th score. He more focuses on tracking, and he's only, yeah, he's a decent part. He was like, I think he was top five in the scenario at one point. I don't know, or maybe he's top five in a different variant of it, but he focuses more on the tracking component of it, right? Like where
Yeah.
he follows the targets, whereas or I guess you won't find his scores on here. There's this guy called Unans who's like top 15 in the RA leaderboard overall, and like his like dynamic approach is a lot more like flicking and like waiting, like flicking to where they're gonna go and then just waiting. And that's cool and all, but like it's not what the skills we're trying to work on with you. Like this is a very target reading heavy approach where you're like reading the target and like trying to see where it's going. Whereas this one's more of a smoothness, like control, like type approach with like some target reading. And that's what I want to work on with you so that we can get you ready to play that side to side counter strafing like scenario. So let's just see you play this again. All right, nice.
Yeah, I think I see what you're talking about. Instead of, it's not best to strictly flick on those tasks, which is I
Yeah.
think what I had been doing.
Yeah, learn that's like kind of the lesson I want you to take away from this, how to be a bit more smooth, like smooth flicking almost. That's like that's good. So let's see. Um, so I'm gonna make you your first playlist will be one playlist of dynamic. It'll have floating heads type scenarios and passive normal type scenarios so that you can kind of learn the type of dynamic you need.
Hmm.
Um, no real hard val random dynamic. I'm not going to give you any of the counter strafing type bots just because I feel like you need to like work on just these two skills before we can get into those, which like I feel like are very good for helping training counter strafing enemies because just those are literally how counter strafing enemies move.
Yeah,
And but even just training these will help you hitting counter strafing enemies over time. So let's see,
gotcha.
what do I want to look at next before we get into anything else regarding what's it called? I want to go back to the centering one real quick and just look at that again. Nice, nice.
Yeah, those tasks are always. It's easier now, but it's still difficult because I just run out of mouse pad space.
Yeah, that's if you run out of mouse pad space, you can just like pick up your mouse and reset it. Here, I'm gonna
Yeah.
show you my screen again real quick. I just want to show you what centering one looks like when you do it versus what it could be looking like. So when you do it, it looks kind of like this, like you're very much back and forth, back and forth. Now, when some people do it, it's like a combination of flicks. Like they just are constantly flicking back to the target. You look like you're just on the edge of that where it's like shaky and it's hard to tell if you're trying to do the right approach and you're just struggling or if you're doing very effectively with the flicking technique. But basically, the proper technique would just be to make it like one steady, smooth motion. I'm not doing it too well right now, but just one steady, like notice how I'm not going like this, like I'm not like constantly overcorrecting. And part of that's just skill, part of that's
Yeah.
approach. So like having seen that, let's just see you attempt it again. I mean, there's a chance that it doesn't change how you play at all, and it was
And
just a skill thing. But there's
are you
also
clicking it or are you holding
oh,
down the
I'm just
mouse
holding down
button?
the whole time. Don't are were you
Okay.
clicking?
No, I wasn't.
Okay,
I just
cool.
wanted to make sure that's not what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, no. Okay, nice.
I typically get better after I do
Yeah,
tasks
that's
a
how it
couple
works for
times.
most people. But it also shows that you'd probably change your technique a bit. Did you feel like you that was just getting better after playing the task a couple times, or was that a technical
Yes,
change?
it didn't feel much like a technical change. It felt
No,
like I
okay.
just tracked it more
All
accurately.
right. So, yeah, it's just something you got to work on a little bit. So, I want to give you some smoothness to work on. So, I'm going to make a little note of that in my note sheet. Now, there's one last thing. Can you open back up one wide wall, three targets, Pokeball? Pokeball, wide wall, three targets. Cool.
This one's kind of like multi-line trace and aim labs that I do a lot.
Multi-line trace.
Yeah, I think there's a clip of it in that YouTube playlist.
Is that the one that's like,
It's you click on one and then there's a green line you're supposed to stay in the limits of while you're flicking to the other target. It's tries to train straight lines.
that explains a lot. All right, so you watch my screen for a minute. That does pretty much summarize how you were playing it. Wide wall, three targets Pokemon. That I'm glad you said that because it informs me you were aware. You do play like this, right?
Hmm.
Like very much just literally tracing an invisible line. When like you want to try to flick more in this scenario, like there, you, like if someone peeks you in game, you're not gonna be like, oh, time to trace my line. Take
Yeah,
the full hour and then eventually get to them. Like you want to be a bit faster, a bit less straight if possible. I mean, if possible, like a perfect flick would be cool, but that's usually takes a lot of skill and practice. And this is what you're so you got to practice it, right? So you do this and then you just micro adjust onto it when you're off it. But some important things, you don't want to get into a habit of flicking and then shaking a bit to stop your mouse like this,
hmm,
like a lot of people like sometimes, well, I'm not doing it right now, but like they'll get close to it and then they'll shake when they're going fast. Like flick, shake, flick, shake, flick, shake. But get on it, flick, shake, get on it. Like you see what I'm saying? Like a lot of
yeah,
people get into that habit because what happens is they're moving their mouse so fast they struggle to stop it. Like here, there, I had the issue actually that time you saw it, how my mouse went like that when
yeah.
towards the
Came
end of the
back.
yeah, like you want to avoid that happening too much. You just want to flick and stop it, micro adjust, flick, stop, micro adjust. And it will happen if you start to push speed, or it might at least happen if you start to push speed. And if it does happen, that's fine. Just treat it as an error the same way you'd treat like in a tracking scenario being off target. Like obviously if I'm playing a tracking scenario, there will be times where I'm off target like this. Just treat that as an error and get back on target, right? So you just got to be
Hmm.
aware of when you're making that mistake and fix it. But don't worry, but don't like treat like having it happen some of the time as being wrong because I mean if in tracking you were always on target, then it wouldn't what's the words I'm looking for? Then that scenario would just be too easy for you.
Yeah,
Same concept. So here, replay this and try to just go a bit faster, be a bit flickier. Okay, that looks more
yeah.
like
And
it.
I'm doing the whiplash that you were talking about.
Yeah, very shaky, very unsteady. Um, Now part of that is probably the SkyPad, to be honest with you. It's
Hmm.
a no friction mouse pad. It's really not the best for flicking type scenarios. Like, I mean, if you like it, I'm not gonna tell you not to use it. Not told you it'll hold you back a bunch. Like, I don't know. I don't.
It seems more detrimental now that I'm on the higher sensitivity. That was the reason that I liked it originally because I used to play at a really low sins, and it allowed me to move faster, even though it was a lower sins.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. It's a balance and just experiment with stuff. That's all I'm saying. Like, if
Yeah,
you find something you really like, And the other part of experimenting is don't put too much weight into Valorant kill counts. Put weight into how it feels. Again, feels, and mainly how it feels in aim trainers, because in Valorant, a lot of times it'll be like, oh, this sense feels so good. When in reality, you're just getting a bunch of game sense kills hyping you up, or like, oh, this sense feels so bad. When in reality, it's like, you're just getting outplayed and frustrated and angry and looking to blame something. So even if it's subconscious, like it's very hard to like separate it. Like it took me a while of playing aim trainers before I started to like realize like what each sense did to my mind and my body, and was able to like think more about sensitivity in a way that like, what's the words I'm looking for? Really just, I was able to like approach sense and pick a sense that would work well for me on a different scenario, like just by playing on so many different sensitivities and so many different scenarios. I started to learn like which senses are optimal for which areas, but like, so that's like, what's the words I'm looking for? And what I found is like it really doesn't matter that much what sense you use, but don't put too much weight into like one Valorant game's results, because that won't really mean much.
Yeah, and I've used a lot of different sins, sort of like what you were saying, as far as like when I would do like strictly tracking tasks, I would up my sins, and when it was like static clicking, like the 5 wall extra small or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
I would play on a lower sins. It's just I'm trying to find that balance for what I actually need to use in game to have a good average of both.
Yeah.
And I think the dynamic task will probably help with that.
That's good. That's good. Just like experiment with different sensitivities when you're training. Like, I mean, feel free to play like one playlist one day on like double your current sense, one on half, and just like try them all differently and just see what happens. I'll probably give you recommended sense ranges for each playlist. I might not, I don't know, but I might. So one playlist of flicking, mainly Pokeball. So I'm gonna make you three playlists. I'll probably make you three 20-minute long playlists so that they fit within the hour, just to keep like the scenario diversity up and like things interesting with like different scenarios, right?
Mhm.
So the first place is gonna be a dynamic playlist. It'll have the floating heads type scenario that we were doing for that, and the Passu and similar scenarios to the Passu. Basically, the Passu just kind of helps you learn to read the bots that change direction a bit, and the floating heads works on like smaller dynamic and control in those kinds of scenarios. And then after practicing on those two for a few weeks, you could probably switch to or incorporate some of that pure G Valorant horizontal clicking, Passu extra small horizontal, uh harder. And there's scenarios in that video that I mentioned, and playlists mentioned in that video for training that whole counter strafing motion. So you could probably switch to those after you kind of get comfortable with this playlist. But just once you get through with that, I'll make you a playlist of smooth tracking, which will basically just be like the centering one and similar scenarios to that, to kind of teach you to just not shake a ton. And this playlist might be shorter than your other ones. Like I might do 25, 25, 10 minute. Smooth tracking doesn't need to spend, you don't need to spend a ton of time on that because you're decent at it. I just want you to get a bit less shaky with the back and forth movement. And then the last playlist will be a flicking playlist of wide wall, three targets, Pokeball in similar scenarios, right?
Mhm.
Flick between the targets. Your end goal is to have a perfectly straight, fast flick, and maybe need some micro adjustment. But to get there, you gotta have your shaky flicks, and you gotta kind of just iron them out. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
every day, try and get a bit straighter, a bit faster, and progress won't be linear. So don't panic if you're, but just really focus on. Don't like some people just think, oh, I gotta be straight and fast, and they'll just go like how you were going before, where you just go super smooth, super straight, and hope that one day you wake up and all of a sudden you can flick fast. Like you gotta make the mistakes. You gotta push yourself to get faster. Just do that and you'll get there. All right?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Gotcha.
Glad to
Yeah.
hear it. Do you have any
Yeah. I
questions
think
for me?
the no, I don't think so. I think a lot of it's I just have to figure out what sins I actually want to use in
That's
game,
like the smallest part of
and
it that you could like pick that like months that I
yeah,
would not spend any time worrying about that.
yeah. The reason is just the I feel like the shakiness is due to the higher
It's
sins.
not. It was on 60 centimeters. It was on 40 centimeters.
It was there for both.
Yeah, it's like, and even if it was only there on the 40 centimeters, 40 centimeters isn't particularly high sense. So it's really just something you need to practice. It's not that much a sense issue.
Gotcha. One question I do have is I don't know if these are the same thing as the other Pokeball tasks, but like these TAF tasks, I tried
Oh
to do
yeah.
that when I found this playlist. I could not for the life of me figure out how you're supposed to play these
Oh yeah,
tasks.
sure. I'll explain it right now. It's a pretty fun. You could honestly, yeah, I'll probably include like something similar to that on one of your playlists so that you can get better at flicking a bit more reactive. But is there here? Search up Fallen TAF. It's the same. It won't be on local playlists. It'll be on online
Oh,
scenarios.
right.
You're still on local playlists. There's a. It's basically if you. Yeah, there you go. Fallen TF. This is exactly the same as Cooler TAF, except this guy called Fallen. He's aim coach. He and I were talking Val routines one day, and he decides to make scenarios like that. So yeah, just play the slowest one. It's basically just how fast they go. So hit challenge. You're gonna see two bots appear. One's a
Mm-hmm.
Pokeball, one isn't. Hover the Pokeball. Hover over. Just sit there, and then when the other bot appears, you click the Pokeball, flick to the other bot, and click it before it disappears.
Okay.
Try to pace yourself so that you get to the other bot before it disappears, even if you miss. Pace, flick a bit faster. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, nice. So yeah, just keep working on that.
Gotcha.
Your goal
I
will be
know
to
how they
just
work now.
don't worry too much about score. Focus on how many of the second bots you hit.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Fallen TAF. Start with 500 milliseconds, and I'm going to start out your playlist with 500 millisecond version, but obviously once you start feeling like you're hitting like maybe a third to half of the normal bots, then you
Mm-hmm.
can move on to a harder version like 450, 400, 350, 300, 250, 200 as you get better.
Gotcha.
Um, and if you feel like one day you can handle 400, the next day you feel like you can barely handle 450, that's fine. Just do whatever, like different days, you'll probably feel different. Don't worry too much about that. And I'll make your custom playlists and send them over to you once I'm done with. Probably gonna eat dinner after this and then do that.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Perfect. So yeah, this is every 7:30. Yeah. All right. We'll talk.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah, he has played too much line trace. I agree. Crisp call summary. Cool. Thanks, Crisp. Um, how much does coaching cost? The VOD reviews are $20. The live sessions are $65 USD always, and then 30 for a resession repeat, like all that stuff. Why does my hand feel weak when I hold my mouse? I can't even. You probably hold your mouse too tense. You might have injured yourself. You just gotta relax your hand, possibly see a physical therapist, stretch, etc., etc. A grown man who is just a gamer on the road who's paid to babysit. Man. Um, Do you think it's better to train before or after? I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters much. I mean, theoretically, if you can stay whatever you can stay focused the most for is ideal, but it doesn't matter. Um, I like using grip stickers. Yeah, grip stickers are cool. Uh, let's see. Anyone? All right, so I will. Okay, cool. He's sending stuff. Did I get his time per day? Yeah, 1 hour per day. Aim skip infinity. He's on the stream. Nice. Finity, Finity. I swear I've seen comments from you from like a year and a half ago. Hold on. Let's look at this. Um, comments, search. Oh, Steezy. Yep, okay. Search. Finity. Finity. Closed. I haven't responded to. 7 months, 9 months, 1 year. 1 year. This man's been with the channel for over a year. What? This is my first. This was a comment. Yeah, you've been watching these videos forever. I respect that. Thank you. Thank you for sticking around for so long. Thanks a ton. Nice. Nice. In tracking target switching scenarios, I noticed that I press mouse one really hard, but the rest of my grip isn't too tense. Is that something? Yeah, what I'd do, I'd practice, I'd train with your mouse one bind. Like, I'd train with a key button like F as shoot for a scenario for like 2 minutes so that you can feel like not having that tension and then repeat, but train it without what am I trying to say? Then train it without doing that, and that would help you release the tension. Arrows, by far the best. Thank you, thank you. I very much appreciate that. Um, yes, thanks everyone for coming out to the stream and subscribing. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. I will be back tomorrow with more live aim coaching.